So think about the bell work, think about your guess, your number, a few seconds, several seconds, a minute, I don't know, but later we will learn how to use a formula to solve this question. Let's move on. Only way I can find out is if I try. Yes, that's a good way actually. You can take a plane, go to New York City, and go up in the Empire State Building and throw a coin, and just make sure the coin doesn't fall on anyone that's in the avenue, right, on the sidewalk. I think it's not going to hurt, but it's not pleasant to kind of walking and have a coin in your head. Anyways, yes, a good idea, Maddie. Let's move on. I have another way that's a bit easier, a formula that you can apply. We're going to check it out later. And this week we are working on quadratic equations and functions. We started this new topic of chapter 7, and a couple of days we've been working on completing the square. Yesterday we learned how to apply the method to solve quadratic equations. Don't know if you remember, but we solved this example yesterday. If you have x squared minus 6x equals 16, you can apply the completing the square method. So find n, add n to both sides of the equation, factor out the perfect square trinomial, because this becomes a perfect square trinomial. You can factor it out and apply the square root property. This step here is to apply the square root property, and you're going to find two different solutions. One is x equals -5 plus 3, x equals -2. The other one is missing. I don't have the other one. Can you help me? Do you remember yesterday? What's the number missing here on this red question mark? Send me a message if you remember yesterday, or if you can figure it out. And the last line, x equals +5 plus 3, that means x equals 8. +5 plus 3, 8. 8 is the right answer. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Smiling. Thank you very much, Jacob and Kalia. Thank you for your help. And I'm very happy that you remember, because that means you remember a little bit about yesterday. You remember how to work, how to solve quadratic equations by using the method of completing the square. Great. Today we will work on something a little bit different. I think it's lighter. I think it's going to be a bit easier. It's about, I can agree, I can understand that this completing the square thing sometimes is hard, because there's so many steps to work, and not that it's difficult, but it's a lot of things to solve, a lot of steps to solve. Today, let's work on something lighter, okay? Just to have a break. Let's talk about literal equations. What is literal equations? We have equations with one variable, okay? This is one kind of equation with one variable that we're going to have just one letter on the equation. We have x, we have y, we can have a different letter, k, we can have q, any letter, as long as you have just one variable, one letter on the equation. And literal equation is going to be equations that have two or more letters, two or more variables. So you can see lots of examples here on the bottom of literal equations. Usually you're going to find formulas, but lots of formulas, they are classified as literal equations because they have two or more variables. And you have the formula, for example, for the area of a rectangle, the formula for the interest rate, interest, formulas for geometry, for finance, for science, any formulas. If you have one or more, two or more variables, this is going to be a literal equation. What's interesting about the literal equation is that you can solve for each variable. You have a formula usually for one variable, and you can manipulate. You can change the formula and find a solution for the other variable, for a different variable. Let me show an example so you can understand. To solve a linear equation, and we have an example, ignoring air resistance, the formula of the distance in feet that an object falls in t seconds is given by the equation. And the equation is, let me get it here, d is the distance equals 16 times t is the time squared. Okay, the distance is in feet and the time is in seconds. Okay, so this is the equation or the formula of the distance of a free fall, an object that's in free fall. Remember about the bell work. We have a situation that we know the distance, but you don't know the time. We want to know the time. If we know the time, we can apply this formula, we can find the distance. It's the other way around. We need to find a different way. We need to change a little bit this formula to make it a solution for t, for time. Okay? So let's try to work this out. First thing, we have to isolate the variable t in one side of the equation. Move everything else that's not t, the numbers, the coefficients, everything away from the variable t. Okay, so let's remove this 16 by dividing both sides of the equation by 16. So we can eliminate, we can simplify the 16 on the right hand side of the equation. And then we have d over 16 equals t squared, that's it. We can switch sides, it doesn't change anything at all. We can write t squared equals d over 16. This is something that we can do, it doesn't change. And now we will apply the square root property. We're going to apply square root on both sides of the equation. And usually we write down here negative or positive, remember? But in this situation, we don't have negative time. We don't need to be worried about the negative solution because we don't work with negative time. We don't go back on time, right? We don't have a time machine yet. Nobody invented for real a time machine, so we don't work with negative time, only positive time, or zero. A time equals zero. You don't need to be worried about the negative answer, so you can write this. This you can simplify, you can write t equals the square root of d over 16. Yes, it would be interesting to have a time machine, right? And you can also simplify a little bit more, because you can break it down like square root of d over square root of 16. That means the formula, the final answer is going to be t equals the square root of d over 4. Okay? I'll write this d here a little bit nicer. D over 4. Okay. This is the same formula, but you change it. You now are solving for t, for time, instead of solving for distance. Okay? So it's the same formula. Let me zoom out and we can see everything we worked on. And now we are solving for time instead of solving for distance. Tell me if you understand what you have here, what you're working on. Tell me if there's anything, any question, any number that popped out here and you don't know where the number came from, or a step that was a bit confusing. Tell me, I can help you out. We can also check this later on the quiz, but you have a question in your mind, just say now. Tell me now, we can maybe solve it. Okay, so we have now I think we will be able to answer the question of the bell work. Have a look, because we have a formula that calculates time as a function of distance. Agree? So let's try. Any questions? Let's move on then. If you don't have questions, let's try to solve our bell work. If you drop a coin from the roof of the Empire State Building and the distance is 1,296 feet, so you can plug in this distance on the formula and probably you're going to be able to find the answer. Okay? How long it will take to hit the ground, and we can calculate, because now we have a formula, right? The first formula we had is about distance. Distance equals 16 times t squared. Remember this on the lesson? But we worked at this formula, we changed it and made the formula to solve for t. So we manipulate it and change it and make t equals square root of d over 4. Okay, it's the same formula, but just change it so we can solve for t. We have d is equals distance 1,296 feet, right, over 4. And you can use your calculator. Let's try. Type here 1,296. Oops. 1,296 square root divided by 4 equals 9. So the answer is 9 what? 9 seconds. The answer is 9 seconds. 9 seconds, okay? The first part of the quiz is about solving the quadratic equations. The same work we've done yesterday. I think I'm not going to solve right now, but the only thing different is that you have to do step number 2 of the procedure. You have to isolate the variables in one side of the equation and move the numbers to the other side. And that's what you're going to do. You have a number, positive 15, you move to the other side. And now you can just apply this step by step to solve by completing the square. Okay? You can work on this first part and you can check using your app. You have your PhotoMath app, so write down, find the answer. So after that, click on the equation and compare your answers with the answers from the app. Let me work on the second part. The second part, I think the app will not help you with this second part. It's the same thing we've done during the lesson. You have an equation, a formula. For A, I can give you the answer later, okay, Kalia? But for A, you have to try. You can check your answers in the app, compare your answers with the app. But if you have any trouble, we can work together with letter A. For the second part, starting on letter I, you have the formula, and this on letter I, this formula here is the area of a circle. We have the formula of the area, but we need to calculate the radius. We calculate R, okay? So write down the formula again. a equals pi r squared, and we will isolate r. So remove this pi, divide both sides by pi. This can be simplified, and you're going to have a over pi equals r squared. You can switch sides, it doesn't change anything if you switch sides, right? A over pi, and apply on both sides of the equation the square root property. And pay attention, you don't need the positive or negative here, because radius is going to be greater than 0. You don't have the radius of a circle as a negative number, right? So you don't need to be worried about negative solution. You're only going to have positive solutions or 0. Simplify. The answer is r equals square root capital A over pi. Now, give me 1 second, I will check attendance, and after that we can work on more questions. Any questions, all the questions if you want. Okay? Solve letter A. Okay, you, not a problem. The first thing you have to calculate n. N that will add to both sides of the equation, right? To find n, you look at this number here, divide 8 by 2 and the square. Remember, this is something we've done yesterday and before yesterday. And n is going to be 4 divided by 2, that's 8 divided by 2, 4, squared 16. So add on both sides of the equation, we have t squared plus 8t plus 16 equals negative 15 plus 16. Okay, and this is n, this is n. On this side, you will have a perfect square trinomial. You can write as a perfect square, a plus, the formula is a plus b squared. A is t, b is 4. Remember 4? Because this one is b squared, 16 is b squared, b is 4. And on the other side, negative 15 plus 16, 1. This is square. Now apply on this equation, apply the square root property, because square root of in one side, square root on the other side, and don't forget to have positive or negative here. This is positive or negative 1. Great! We can find now 2 solutions. The first solution is t plus 4 equals negative 1. The second solution is t plus 4 equals positive 1. Move this little thing to the other side, becomes a negative. Move this little thing to the other side, becomes a negative. And then finally you have the answers. The 2 solutions we're looking for. Negative 1 plus, negative 1 minus 4, negative 5. Positive 1 minus 4, negative 3. All right, this is the answer for letter A. Iwil is asking about letter G. No problem. Thank you. Thank you, Kalia. Let's work on letter G. Move this to the other side, and you're going to have positive 10. Calculate n. N equals, and look at this number here. 3 over 2 is squared. And this is going to be 9 over 4. 9 over 4. N is 9 over 4. Okay. Y squared minus 3y plus 9 over 4 equals 10 plus 9 over 4. Interesting. Interesting, because here, this is a perfect square trinomial. This is, and we can write as y, a is y, and what about b? B is the square root of 9 over 4, 3 over 2. You square, and add 10 plus 9 over 4 is 49 over 4. Apply square root in one side, apply square root on the other side, don't forget the positive or negative, and you're gonna find here, positive or negative, 7 over 2. Okay? I know you don't like to work with fractions, but sometimes you need, sometimes you have to work with fractions. Y minus 3 over 2 equals negative 7 over 2. Y minus 3 over 2 equals positive 7 over 2. Move this little thing to the other side, and I have positive 3 over 2. Move this to the other side, and I have positive 3 over 2. The solutions are going to be, y equals negative 7 over 2 plus 3 over 2 is negative 4 over 2. Negative 4 divided by 2, negative 2. And positive, the second solution, positive 7 over 2 plus 3 over 2 is positive 10 over 2. 10 divided by 2, 5. The answers are negative 2 and 5. Again, if you are working, if you are not sure if you got the right answer, because there were so many fractions, so many steps, and also so many chances of making a mistake, right? Thank you. Now we have all the answers. You can check, you can make sure you got the right answers. Bye bye. Thank you, Smiling. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Will. Have a great day.